Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome once again to the World Forum for Women in Science. We are now in the technical session, Heritage Preservation, Education and Innovations. At the end of the session, we will have question and answer section. And for now, we will start with the presentation. So I give the word to our moderators.
Thank you very much, dear distinguished speakers and kind audience and listeners. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where in the world you are attending from. And welcome to all, and thank you for your participation. Today, I will moderate this technical session with Dr. Sukina Al-Kataounau. Sorry for the mistake, maybe. And we will start with the online technical session entitled Heritage Preservation and Education Innovation. In this session, we will have the opportunity to look to the future while at the same time recognizing the role of the past and its preservation in imagining new futures. So I ask all the speakers to keep their presentation to maximum 12 minutes and then follow it by 3 minutes of answer question time. We can start with the first speaker, Sukina, if you agree.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, we are ready to start our presentation, our session. Sorry. Would you please present the first panelist?
Yes, please. The first panelist is Professor Kabila Ahmoud.
Oh, okay. So we don't have
yes.
Mrs. Christine. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Just a second. Sorry. So actually, our first presentation will be about digital documentation technology and its role in preserving and rehabilitating heritage building. The presenter is Professor Dr. Kabila Faris Hamoud. She's an architect at Ashur University in Baghdad, Iraq. She has obtained her PhD in architecture in 1996. Dr. Hamoud's research interests are in the areas of traditional Arab architectural identity within sustainability, architecture and identity, and urban and architectural heritage conservation. Historical sustainability, indeed. She's a peer reviewer for several related journals and conferences in her field of research. She has been a professor of Islamic and traditional architecture since 2004. Dr. Hamoud gained the award of Outstanding Reviewer Award in 2022 for Civil Engineering and Architecture Journal. She is also among the top reviewers for Journal of Asian Architecture and Building Engineering in the last 4 years. Dr. Hamoud is a full member of the Organization for Women in Science for the Developing World OST since 2019. Actually, I will start sharing. Sorry, yes, I will come here. I will start sharing my screen.
Thank you.
Just a second, please.
From beginning.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Kabira.
Yeah.
Floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning for everyone. I hope you are well doing all. Dr. Sukaina Al-Katauna and me will present our research projects, digital technology and its role in preservation and rehabilitation heritage buildings. In this second, next, please.
Sorry.
In this slide, we like to emphasize that preservation of the historic, urban, and architectural heritage of any city, and also rehabilitation it, is one of the most important practical applications on architecture, which aims to document that heritage as a first step and rehabilitate it to be continuous and sustainable nowadays by its historical and architectural values. So we have preservation or conservation of heritage. This terms, we can look at it at two levels: architectural preservation or urban preservation. Architectural preservation related to individual buildings, but while urban preservation related to urban context, as we see in these slides. Maybe this we have see Al Harana Palace in Jordan, also Ulus in Turkey. We have next, please. Also Alicante in Spain, Granada, Baco, and many others country and cities with its heritage, architectural or urban heritage. Next. When we like to nominate any individual buildings in order to conserve or preserve it, we have many considerations in order to make this process. These considerations, we can say its age of the building, historical value, homogeneity of the site, architectural and aesthetic value, social value, and uniqueness of the building in its architectural style, also technical and tactical factors. Next. And this, after we nominate the individual buildings, we need many steps based on the lot of studies have determined as follows. These steps is documentation, then study and analysis, maintenance and restoration, choosing the suitable function for rehabilitation, and at last modifying spaces with a new function. This we find it in many buildings. We have here Asad Basha Khan, and also Zimit Hotel in Libya, in Syria, and many countries. This research especially aims to explore the impact of digital technology on heritage preservation and rehabilitation, highlighting its benefits and challenges in the conservation fields. And in this place, we need to emphasize that the integration of digital technologies such as 3D scanning, virtual reality, building information modeling, BIM, it's very important nowadays in order to make this process successful. George Salim with its architectural and urban heritage. And we like to emphasize also that heritage buildings hold immense historical significance, as they serve a tangible connection to the past, reflecting the cultural, architectural, social values, and etc. Next. Here we have Aleppo Castle in Syria. Next, please. the research in collecting data and information is based on observations, interviews, field visits, meetings with concerned persons, and also important scientific sources. This we can say it's an traditional tools in order to collect data. But nowadays, we are very interested in collecting data by using digital tools or digital technology, or softwares in order to make this process more successful, more perfect, and more accurate. Some of the tools we need may be the 360-degree high frequency panoramic imaging camera. Maybe we need 3D photo modeler, and also we have many softwares important in order to make the process going well. Next. Yeah. These technologies, which I speak before about, not only aid in the documentation and analysis of building conditions, but also enable accurate reconstruction and restoration of intricate architectural details, mitigate risk associated with manual intervention, and ensure the long-term sustainability of heritage buildings. When we have some buildings, inherited buildings, individual building, or urban context, in order with a good architectural or urban heritage, we have two decisions. The first decision is not to preserve it because of the weak structural conditions, or because of the cost, or many other things, maybe architectural value, functional efficiency. The other decision is to preserve these inherited models. When we take this decision, we have three options. First, maintaining and restoration of this building, but not reuse it again in our age, or maintaining and restoration of this building or urban context with a new use, or we determine the new use. This is the third option. We determine the new use, and then we make our process for maintenance and restoration. Choosing the suitable function or use or new use for any building, affected by many factors. These factors, it must be considered, is the nature of the inheritance, internal spaces, their size and shape, I mean spaces, distribution and its absorption of the new activities, also the value of historical and architectural heritage. These are all considerations important in order to choose the suitable function. Here we have two pictures or photos for Al-Harana Palace. It is one of the more important Umayyad palaces in Jordan, and our project was very interested in it, and we use the digital tools and technology in order to document and rehabilitate this building. When we do or using digital technology, we have many challenges, but I need here, or I want here to emphasize important statement that BIM, Building Information Modeling, is an interactive tool for the design, representation, protection, and long-term management of the built environment. Next, Dr. Sukan. Yeah. Here we have same Al Harana Palace, and in the right we find the 3D Max drawings by using digital softwares in order to document this building in order to suggest the important or the contemporary function or use for it. While building information modeling is a digital representation of what will be built in a construction project, digital technology is important, and in general we can say that the digital technology concept focuses on people's interaction with built environment. Meanwhile, BIM is used for visualization in the design and construction phase rather than the operations and maintenance phase. So it is important in the first, not in the phase of maintenance or restoration. This is Falah Al-Hamad house. It is also one of the case studies we use with it our tools, digital tools. You can see the photo of the building and also how we use Revit and 3D Max and CAD in order to make the drawings in order to document this building as a first step, and then make the study and analysis in order to suggest the important or the new use for this building. As conclusion, sorry, if we can return to the previous slide. Yeah. Thank you. This project is considered a pioneering step in a series of publications documenting future achievements to be suitable reference for researchers, students, and others to benefit from it scientifically in all local, regional, and international universities with an interest in such a conservation approach. We use in this project as a case study, we use Naur School, also Ajloon, and this project presents a practical mechanism for urban preservation that can be applied to other models for various cities anywhere. As a conclusion, we can emphasize that the integration of digital technology in the preservation and rehabilitation of heritage buildings or urban contexts has proven to ensure the protection of cultural heritage and also facilitate more efficient and cost-effective conservation efforts, enhance the public engagement and education on the importance of architectural heritage, ensures the long-term preservation and sustainable use of heritage buildings for future generations, and at last ensures the integrity and accuracy for heritage information collection. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Kabila. Let me just see if there are, thank you very much for this very valuable and important presentation. Let me just see if there are some answer. should I open the chat, or does the people can the people make the answer by speaking? No problem.
In the chat, there are only speakers who can write in the chat, and the attendees can write in the question and answers section, Q&A section. And for now, there are no questions in the...
Okay, there are no questions. Okay, thank you very much. So I just want to underline that it was really a very valuable and important presentation. And I think that it's always fundamental to think about historical heritage and preservation of the heritage, having in mind the deep connection between architectural values and urban values. So I think that we have seen a very, very good example with this first presentation, and I hope that at the end we can again discuss, maybe have the time to discuss again about this point, which I think is fundamental for the future development of our cities based on the preservation of the historical heritage. So thank you very much. I think I should introduce the second speaker of the session. So the second speaker is Guia Baratelli. Good morning. She is a PhD architect and an independent researcher. Guia Baratelli graduated in architectural design at the Department of Architecture in Florence, Italy. In 2012, she attended the International Master Architettura Storia Progetto, and in 2017, she gained her PhD at the Roma 3 University. She took part in important competitions, architectural competition about museums, school, architectural and urban interventions. And since 2015, she has been supporting teaching at the Department of Architecture of Roma 3. Guia Baratelli has published essays and articles in scientific journals. Her research field is focused on the theoretical and constructive dimension of modern architecture and its relationship with the architectural project. So today she will present a paper entitled Transforming the Didactic Space, Retracing Some Steps of Modern School Models and Paradigms. Sorry. So thank you, Guia. You can share your presentation.
Good morning. Yes, I try now. I think that there is, okay, now. Okay. Okay, can you see well?
Yes, thank you.
Well, so I start. Now I'm going to introduce my paper starting from two premises. So first of all, the fact that school has always been a minor genre. If we think about the activity of architects comparing to housing and other more noble categories, such as museum or the town hall, the school building has always remained in the background. The second premise is the unavoidable cultural delay between pedagogy and architecture, since very often the most advanced didactic methods have looked farther than architectural models. The third has to do with communicative methods, to make aware and to address new generation of both architect and user towards the matter related to learning spaces. Yet the contribution of modern architects in this field has coincided with periods of great social changement, during which the growth of human beings and also education have been placed at the center. So for this short presentation, I just selected a few steps or paradigms crucial for the transformation of the learning environment as a whole and that make us reflect still nowadays. Well, the first one is related to, is related to the Swiss exposition, Der neue Schulbau. We know that Switzerland has a long-term pedagogical tradition since Pestalozzi theorized innovative teaching methods in the 18th century. And in 1932, the architect Werner Max Moser organized an important exhibition in Zurich that pointed at raising some new issues about the architecture of the school and the educational field, showing avant-garde models and solutions mainly built in Europe. This event was also the opportunity to create a sort of manifesto using communicative tools based on mottos and oppositive categories used to address and propagandize the new themes also to a public of not specialists. What does a modern pedagogy mean? First of all, the refuse of imposed authority of the adult and the discovery of a genuine education of the child. Translated in architectural terms, a modern school model implied an attack to the character of the expensive monumental building in favor of architecture marked by understatement and paving the way to a system based on the integration of low-rise buildings with greenery through unpretentious wings under the trees. It is interesting that in the panels of the exhibition, school buildings also presented individual problems, maintaining the unity of the classroom as a point of reference and showing the opposition between traditional solutions and modern ones. So one of these matters was, of course, related to the height of the building as a whole and in relationship with natural light and shadow. As for the classroom, bad lighting against good lighting and also other matters were under discussion, in particular the role of building structure in learning spaces with respect to the sun rays. Modern schools also had to take into account the way desks and benches were arranged in the classroom, and so in order to enable flexibility against the rigid model of frontal lessons. In conjunction with another concept suitable with the modern forms of teaching, so the principle of a child scale. So furniture had to be designed according to ergonomic principle, considered the height of the children and their movement. Another opportunity to show further steps in the school building's conception was the exhibition held in 1942 at the MoMA of New York, titled Modern Architecture for Modern Schools and curated by Elizabeth and Rudolf Mock. Elizabeth was a woman architect and also a clever and brilliant innovative curator appointed as a director of MoMA. In fact, through the event, she wanted to show the main achievement and task for a new generation of modern school. And the starting point was the difference between old and new. But if we look at these panels, it is clear that the whole exposition was focused on another matter. So to the question, what about post-war schools? The first answer was a stimulating environment for a democratic living. So a political message where the word environment appeared associated to school. So this means an education that stimulates learning by doing. New buildings not only responded to hygienic and physical, but also psychological needs, and more in general, promoting a design free from fixed formulas. But how was the school concretely changing? Among the models displayed in the exhibition, a particular stress was given to American examples conceived as organic ensemble, of which the classroom was only a part, and where other components like auditorium, libraries, and playgrounds gained more space than in the past. But there were also cheaper buildings realized in prefabricated light materials according to a principle of extendable modularity to answer to a condition of emergency in seismic zone. Here we can see a famous prototype by Richard Neutra, an open-air school enriched with ephemeral devices like external curtains, pergolas, and loggias that enable the teaching outside in a friendly and stimulating atmosphere. If we look at the post-war period, the third opportunity to further on an architectural education toward the problems of school and in order to make architects more sensible towards the peculiar genre was given by the debate of the Italian press. And in Italy, school was perceived as a tool to rebuild society, and the Domus Journal based in Milan was the ideal set of this informal debate. And in 1947, Ernesto Nathan Rogers, as a director of the journal, titled the issue 220 Educational Architecture, and published an interesting palimpsest of various opinions and issues, an interdisciplinary framework of scholars, professionals, pedagogists, recalls some meaningful model realization in the educational field, of course, but also the specific responsibility of both architects and buildings to educate according to a mutual relationship between aesthetics and ethics. So beside the most innovative schools here, we also find a stress on human values and sometimes even a critical weighing towards the schematic results of a standard and not responsible progressive approach. For instance, Gentile Tedeschi, who was a modern architect and trained in Milan, and co-founder of international magazine Metro, further on the optimization of the classroom with respect to a series of scientific parameters. But at the same time, he even criticized the abuse of standard transparent curtain walls, bilateral lighting, supporting an integrated solution of different sources of light. Outside the technical problems related to design of classroom, it was clear that apart from a few exceptions given from the industrialized world, many countries could not guarantee a good education and suitable buildings. Therefore, finding specific solution for a specific cultural context was another matter of debate for architects. And the Milanese architect Amos Edallo, for instance, put the attention on rurality for the first time in Italy, studying schools of the neglected and deprived rural areas of the country, where the children were also workers. And the article was a sort of inquiry where he documented the rural education, focusing on concrete problems and making also suggestions. The architect Giancarlo De Carlo instead identified home and school as the dominating presence of the ethical community, even though only a few countries in Europe have contributed to reinforce this link. Thus, the influence of school had to be extended to the territory and to community. The school had to become a center to be planned with respect to a wider landscape and environment. Last, but not at least, precisely the word environment referred to as school became one of the most used words in architectural field, together with what had been defined as one of the most powerful paradigms of the 20th century, so the so-called map building strategy, partly deriving from a new interest nurtured by the architects toward the city and the principle of growth. So many buildings after the famous Montessori school in Delft by the Dutch architect Herzberger followed this approach, combining the use of the grid as a design tool to enable the flexibility of the building by time, with a spatial revolution inside, progressively dismantling the idea of static classroom and its borders in favor of a diffuse learning landscape. Well, what about the legacy today? Learning environment now is under transition again. In the last years, and particularly after the pandemic, the relationship between physical spaces and students has been changing, since the traditional classroom is being reevaluated from many students. And at the same time, our didactic models are inbuilt with the different and digital devices. So an itinerant exhibition titled Classroom, which in October will be opening at the House of Contemporary Art in Hasselt, is focusing on the learning environment of young people, taking the classroom, but also modern heritage at its starting point. Another final consideration is that at the big scale, the relationship between school and territory or community is still a topical matter in the practice. And now, perhaps more than before, since it's related to the idea of locality and local resources, especially if we think about emerging countries. And last of what about a legacy today is that a repertoire of architecture is also a repertoire of problem. And so the topics outlined before come partly from lessons and studies addressed to architecture, young architects, and represent just some echoes of a much richer panorama of the modern. So thank you very much, and thank you for the listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Guia Baratelli, for this very comprehensive presentation. Are there any questions? No? Okay, so thank you very much. You have given a very comprehensive overview of the problem of the schools project. I think that from this that you have discussed as a paradigm, we can base our design principle for the future school. And at the end, you have addressed 3 important points. And the last point was really very significant, because yesterday in the opening session, we were reflecting about the possibility to rethink a new way to better understand our mission, and the study of the historical paradigms always helps us in understanding our mission for the future. So Kina, do you want to add a comment or?
Actually, it's very interesting topic, and we're glad to see that there is some concern specifically about, you know, the schools building and the future. Okay, how it's gonna actually change with the legacy, common legacy. It was very interesting one.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, we were reflecting about the importance of community buildings and
Yes.
urban planning. Again, the first 2 papers addressed the same important issue. Sakina, do you want to, or maybe better if I introduce the third and then you maybe introduce
Yeah,
me,
that's
which
fine.
I
Yeah,
am the
if we have,
4th.
yes,
Thank
yeah,
you.
sure. Yes, yeah, sure. Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you
sure.
very
Please
much.
go ahead. Yeah, please go
Thank you
ahead.
very
Yeah.
much. So I introduce the next speaker, which is Dr. Temidayo Olanrevayu Adoloyu. She is an academic researcher at Lagos State University, IP Campus, Lagos State, Nigeria. Temidayo Olanrevayu Aduloyu is a PhD academic researcher with over a decade of experience in higher education. She excelled during her quantity surveying studies at Obafemi Awolowo University, graduating with a second-class upper division honors. Her postgraduate work demonstrated exceptional academic and research abilities, earning her a teaching position at the Federal University of Technology, Owerri, since 2019. Temidayo has received all awards, including the 2010 Justice Folarin Onashiel Prize and the 2010 Carnegie Mellon and Obafemi Awolowo University Scholarship. She currently lectures in quantity surveying at Lagos State University and was recognized as one of the Black women in construction in October 2023. Her focus is on construction management, sustainability, disaster management, technology, project design delivery, construction economics, and climate change to be a leading expert in this field. So welcome again. And the title of the paper is Optimizing Knowledge Management Procedures in the Building Construction Industry in Lagos, Nigeria, a panacea for sustainable development. Welcome.
Thank you, Professor
Thank you.
Carlota.
Thank you very much. Nice
It's good to be here. Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you. You really tried with the pronunciation of my name. I'm impressed.
Super sorry. I'm super sorry.
No. That's okay. So once again, I am Temidayo Olanrewaju Adeloju, PhD. I am a quantity surveying lecturer from Lagos State University in Nigeria. Oh, wow. So once again, it's good to be here. I greet everybody here. And I would love to share my screen. I hope I'm permitted to do that. Okay. Okay.
Yes,
I believe you can see my screen, right?
Yes, perfect.
Thank you very much. So, going to the title of the paper, we were 6 that actually wrote it, but I'm the only one here to present the paper. So it is once again titled Optimizing Knowledge Management Procedures in the Building Construction Industry of Lagos, Nigeria, a panacea for sustainable development. So I would love to go to the keywords. So knowledge, according to some authors, which I brought out 2 here, Wang and Noah 2010 and Moajan 2016, talks about information processed by individuals having a direct, which has a direct relationship on the performance of the individuals and projects. And this information we're talking about, the knowledge we're talking about, is very important in the construction industry, and it comes in form of engineering drawings, architectural plans. As a QS, the information that I share is a bill of quantities, and we also use specifications and others. Now, knowledge management talks about how you manage information within an organization, simply like that. Now, the construction sector where I belong to is one of the largest sectors that delivers facilities for economic development. So it is very, very important. It's one of the sectors that we cannot do without all over the world. And then we discovered that the power of oneness in the form of having the same language, the same knowledge, being able to share the same information cannot be underestimated. Looking at the Tower of Babel story in the Bible, when the information was disrupted, they had issues. So this is applicable to the construction industry. So to the next slide, intersection of this, knowledge management and the sustainable development goals. We have 19 sustainable development, 17, I mean. However, in the built environment, 11 are recognized by the World Green Building Council, 2016 to 2024, of which all these sustainable development goals can be achieved if knowledge management system is well articulated in the construction industry. Now, I would love to go to the statement of the research problem. From the authors that were cited, it was observed that knowledge management helps to increase sustainable performance, however, and productivity. However, they did not center this issue of knowledge management on the infrastructural projects, which is the focus of this study. So in summary, we were able to outline that there is huge flow of information in the industry. And this information is needed at the different stages of construction, which I'll still outline in the next slide. And among the various knowledge workers, information flow occurs in the construction industry. However, the knowledge management concept is opined to be at the formative stage in the Nigerian construction industry, thus leading to drawbacks and consequences of building collapses. Those are some of the issues we are having in the Global South: use of substandard materials, quacks posing as professionals, non-adherence to the standard methods of construction, among others, in the Nigerian construction industry and in the Global South at large. Hence, this study focused on assessing the impacts of knowledge management on building projects. Now, the benefits of knowledge management system to construction in the Global South. Number one, if knowledge management systems are put in place the way it should be, there will be no confusion like that Babel stuff, and it therefore saves time. You don't need to go round and round before you understand what the contractor is meant to do, as much as the information needed is given by the engineer and others that are meant to be. Now, it gives us the desired quality of project towards. Now, it also helps with cost saving. There will be no need for rework. And this was one of the issues that is being encountered in the construction industry. Several times, a particular job would have been done, project, and then maybe from the client side or maybe from the government side, you're told to actually rework these or to stop projects. You tend to lose a lot of costs, and then environmental sustainability is enhanced. However, the drawbacks through consequences of poor knowledge management systems to construction in the Global South include building collapse, like I reiterated the other time. Yes, substandard structures, debt, and others. Now, the factors that influences the adoption of knowledge management in the construction industry include lack of awareness of knowledge management systems. You might be wondering, oh, is it not ordinary information? But let me tell you, in the construction industry, information, the way it is being passed through documents and other things, sometimes people tend not to be aware that, in fact, some contractors tend not to know that they are meant to receive information from some professionals for some of their projects. Professional negligence too. We have cases whereby engineers will not provide the needed document to the other professionals, and this leads to some of the consequences that I mentioned earlier. Then, probably relationship between stakeholders. Sometimes some of the participants or stakeholders in the industry just like, oh, you don't need to give me these documents. I think we are close. You should trust me. I know how to go about it. And before you know it, there are some consequences face everybody. You'll be wondering what happened. Usage of unqualified professionals too is part of it. Now, I earlier mentioned the stages of construction. We have the project conception stage. We have the design of facility stage. We have the actual construction itself and the use of facility. Now, looking at the stages of construction, it is the knowledge workers, as we put here, the construction professionals, the quantity surveyors and people like me and the technical staff that make use of this knowledge. But if in the middle we flow of knowledge comes from the creation of knowledge, the transfer of knowledge, the storage, retrieval procedures, and the application stage. If the flow of knowledge, if the steps are done the way it be done, the knowledge workers, the construction workers, and at the process of construction, will have a successful execution of projects in the construction industry, which will also help us in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, the 11 Sustainable Development Goals that I highlighted earlier on. So the methodology, it was carried out, and the study was carried out in Lagos, Nigeria, and the research design, we used the historical research approach. We checked some infrastructure projects in Lagos, which I will quickly highlight very soon. And then the interview method, some of the construction professionals, stakeholders in the building industry, construction industry were interviewed. And we used non-probabilistic sampling method. Now, looking at some historical analysis of building collapse in Nigeria, we have some building types and the numbers that we highlighted here. However, I would quickly want to focus on a particular one. If you look at number 7, That's the 21-story building that collapsed on Gerard Road, Ikoyi, the 11th of January 2021. Now, there were a lot of lives that were lost. A lot of lives were lost, 46 number, according to what we were able to get from Punch newspaper. And the lives lost included the building developer. And what we discovered from there was that 15 floors were actually approved for construction. That was the information the engineer and other people or the other stakeholders that were on it, the design. When they got to the actual construction stage, 21 floors were constructed. So I believe you and I know that the strength of the reinforcement and other things that are meant to be used, the concrete, definitely that of 15 floors cannot carry a building of 21 floors. And lo and behold, this led to loss of different lives in the country. So committees were set up by the government to probe and call to check, who did this, there were a lot of hanky-panky going on. The previous engineer on the project made mention of the fact that he wrote a memo that the project should not continue since they were going beyond the approved number of floors, 15 floors. However, he had to exit when he wasn't taken seriously. But thank God he wrote a memo, which was, and another engineer came on site, not minding the information that he saw ahead, the knowledge that was passed on earlier, and this led to loss of lives. So I would just want to go to our findings because of time. This paper will discover that the current trend in implementing the knowledge management in the Nigerian construction industry is actually in hybrid form. That includes the virtual and the physical means. However, the troubles, the glitches, the problems encountered surfaced more due to lack of synergy among the professionals. Well, the professionals in the industry, in the construction industry, while they are disseminating information, we discover that most times, due to some of the reasons I reiterated earlier, they allow the breaking knowledge transfer to affect the construction works in the global south in particular. And then the promptness of passing on the acquired or required knowledge is not there. The knowledge is not always transferred at the right time. Sometimes you get belated information, belated knowledge, which is not meant to be so. And this affects the construction industry, like the table I showed the other time. Anything that leads to loss of lives is actually pathetic. But this is the situation in the global south, especially in Nigeria at the moment. And we finally discovered that the level of adoption of knowledge management system was low. Nobody sort of really cares. So the factors that influenced the adoption of knowledge management system include rapport between the stakeholders, corruption, which is it's serious corruption. Sometimes even when you have the documents, when you have the information, the necessary authorities that are meant to ensure that the information is passed, they tend to, probably because they don't want to allow some things to happen, they just overlook some information, vital information that is essential to prevent the aftermath of not passing on the knowledge at the right time. Then economics to market forces too sometimes tend to be variables, factors that affect the adoption of this system. Then the regard for professional ethics. Some of our professionals tend not to care about what is expected of them, and negligence on the part of the stakeholders. We were able to develop a framework, this framework that you're seeing, because the knowledge management system involved process, people, and tools. And so this is what we're talking about: management cycle, the knowledge management workers, and the tools in form of the drawings, the BOQs, and co. And so we recommended here that there should be creation of awareness, technical know-how, like the use of virtual reality tools, like metaverse, inclusion of knowledge management principles, and strategies in government policies. Government should make policies that will include knowledge management principles, and penalties should be made for breaking the flow pattern of the knowledge management system. If all these are done, we'll have successful execution of projects in the construction industry, and then we'll have a sustainably built environment, and we'll achieve level goals. In conclusion, knowledge management adoption is low in the Nigerian construction industry, and the tools such as the engineering drawings and so on are not easily accessible to the concerned parties. So we are recommending that effective knowledge management principles and strategies through the use of identified tools and systems should be complied with by all parties privy to construction from the planning stage of the projects, and such should be included in government policies to facilitate robust performance of infrastructural projects. So the framework was developed, which is our contribution to knowledge is in particular, and thank you for listening.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for this valuable presentation, which address a very, very huge and topic in the contemporary time. Thank you very much. I don't know if there are some questions.
Okay.
Let me just check in the
question and answer section. There are no questions.
No, thank you.
The audience wants to, they can write the questions.
Can I?
Is there a question? No.
No, I said, can I stop sharing my screen?
Okay. Thank you very much. I think there was a very important point which was addressed by our first speaker in the morning, which was Professor Kabila Ahmoud. She said that I want to read her words. She stressed the point that it is very important to enhance the public engagement and education on the importance of architectural heritage. I think that we can perfectly apply this concept to your presentation because what you are trying to address is the importance to enhance the public engagement and education of the importance of construction. So this idea of the knowledge management on building projects is really the base of a successful execution of a project in construction industry. I totally agree with your point of view. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sakina.
Sakina, do you want to add another comment?
Actually, it's a very valuable research, and as you mentioned, it's all actually all the provided or presented work, all work toward helping community and getting involvement from the public in order to move forward. To make all these fields helping toward the sustainability of our heritage and urban maintenance and all these things. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, Prof. Carlota, are you going to be the next speaker then?
Yes, thank you very much, Sakina.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay. Okay. Well, actually, it's a pleasure to present you, Prof. Carlota Torricelli, if I pronounce it right. The next presentation will be about Ellen Key's feminist pedagogy and its impact on modern Swedish architecture, reimagining educational space. Our speaker is Professor Carlota Torricelli. She's an associate professor in architectural and urban composition. She's architect PhD, is an associate professor in architecture and urban composition at Rome University, Department of Architecture. She's a member of the Scientific Committee of Architectural Composition Curriculum Board at the Louvre University of Venice School of Doctoral Studies. She graduated from the Milan Polytechnic in 2006 with a thesis about the city of Porto, where she studied at the FAUP in 2002-2003 and in 2005. Since 2011, she has held a PhD in architectural composition at the Louvre University of Venice School of Doctoral Studies. In 2012, she was a fellow at the CM Lirici Italian Institute of Culture in Stockholm. From 2011 to 2023, she taught architectural and urban composition as adjunct professor at the AUIC School of Milan Polytechnic. From 2006, she has worked as a planner, taking part in contests and receiving acclaim for her designs. Currently, she gives lessons and takes part in international conventions and seminars. She writes articles and essays, contributing to series on architecture as well as international journals. She conducts research with particular attention to the other modernity, poetics, and to the tension between theme, figuration, and place. Dr. Carlotta,
Thank you
the
very
floor
much.
is yours now. Yes, you're welcome.
Ooh. Now it says I cannot share the screen. Don't know why.
Now it should work.
No, it should work perfectly. I'm sorry because it was already tested. Just okay. So thank you very much for the introduction. Sorry, I'm having no. Okay. Thank you very much. So the title of my paper is LNK Feminist Pedagogy and its Impact on Modern Swedish Architecture, Reimagining Educational Space. I'm really glad to be here with you in this session. In recent years, within my work as an architectural design teacher, I had the opportunity to focus on the design of new school buildings, understood as a first step towards urban regeneration. In particular, the design experimentations concentrated on the theme of the central hall as the nexus between the community building and the neighborhood. Here, the public space of the city flows into the school environment, generating a very positive social interchange. In order to deepen the design experimentation for the design of new sustainable schools spaces, I decided to anchor the technical constructive thinking to the theoretical and cultural roots, looking at pedagogical models that can still be considered topical today. In this way, I encountered the reforming and radical thinking of the Swedish LNK. In the future, I would like to deepen the legacy of her thinking regarding pedagogical models and the environmental sustainability and try to apply it to school design for the present time, addressing the theme of inclusive revitalization. So this is just the beginning of a new research that I would like to share with you today. Ellen Key was a Swedish feminist writer on many subjects in the field of family life and ethics. She was a suffragist and an important figure in the modern breakthrough movement and child-centered education. Ellen Key was one of the most vital and active figures of the Nordic life reform movement. Key published many articles and essays discussing the Swedish women movement and women's rights. One of the most interesting points of its theoretical thinking is the issue of the equivalence between male and female components of the society. According to Ellen Key, female liberation cannot be resolved in the simple imitation of male behavior, but rather in creating a society in which the female component obtains a sphere of action equal to that of the male component. These ideas place motherhood in a new light and call men to reflect on the subject of fatherhood, both focus on childish subjects' needs and requirements. This led her to develop new educational practices in the conviction that the change in society had to start with the turn in the education of children. She arrived at the conclusion that the national identity needed a cultural and political renewal. The culture had to be reinvigorated from folk culture and the political condition democratized. Following this idea, he traveled to Denmark and studied their folk colleges. The folk school story has its roots in 19th century Denmark, with Nikolai Fredrik Severin Grundtvig, whose vision for education is credited with supporting Denmark's successful transition to democracy. One of the key early ambitions was to found a Swedish folk high school. She founded a school for this type for women in her home district, but finally she decided in 1880 to become a teacher at Anna Whitlock's School for Girls in Stockholm. This progressive new elementary school was a pioneer institution founded in 1878, and Anna Whitlock was one of the Sweden's foremost reformist educators. The school was made co-educational. That means a mixed sex education in 1893, which was very progressive for that time. She also introduced innovations such as students' councils, parents' day, free choice of subject, voluntary education in religion, and vacation colonies for children. So we have seen how in Ellen Key thinking, the debate in the feminist field and in the pedagogical field come together. And now if we analyze the two seminal books, the one of the left, Beauty at Home, and the one of the right, The Century of the Child, together, we understand how thinking about home and thinking about school are also united in a single perspective. The idea of the family, and therefore of home that houses it, finds its grounded core in the union between different but entirely equivalent beings. The idea of motherhood and fatherhood is not so much biological as cultural. For the cultural and political renewal, the artistic and moral education of new populists played a crucial role. And this would take place, according to Ellen Key, less in school and more in the home. She emphasizes the importance of cooperation between school and home. Building on the beauty of the home, the new religion of beauty would conquer architecture and urban life, ennoble everyday life, and ultimately transforming the entire society. Ellen Key's aim for education is that each child will develop into a free and independent individual, but it is only one side of our system. There is another aspect, consideration for others. The school should have only one aim, to give to each individual as much self-development and happiness as possible. Ellen Key's idea on the role of women, marriage, culture, religion, and politics became the subject of lively discussions in Sweden, and her ideas on the education, however, went largely unnoticed in contemporary Sweden and caused little debate. It was only a long time later that her ideas began to put into effect in Swedish schools. But outside her native country, her ideas on education had much stronger impact. This was particularly true in Germany and also in Italy. And Ellen Key books and idea also drew attention in several other countries. Already in 1909, The Century of the Child has been translated into 9 European languages. In the United States, her ideas play an important role in the child study movement. We can recognize a concrete inheritance of Ellen Key thought in the pedagogical experiment that the Italian Maria Montessori implemented with the children's house in the working class neighborhood of San Lorenzo in Rome. In the early 90s, faced with the situation of extreme decay and insalubrity, the Real Estate Institute was launching a project which envisaged a social improvement, giving families the opportunity to have a school where they could leave their young children, taking them off the streets. It was intended that every house should have its school. Finally, they just built one of them. Here, Montessori transforms a domestic private space into a school. a public space on a child scale as a model, as a first step towards social reform. Montessori schools, in fact, retains the name home because it is supposed to be a metaphor for it. In Italian is la casa dei bambini, and the children's home. And through it is a possible home is shown to the inhabitants of the neighborhood based on respect for the individuality of each one. It is a word school which does not deny complexity and diversity, but generates the physical space for them to coexist. It was a miniature equivalent of the grown-up house where the children did everything themselves. The development of individual potential is intended as an antidote against the risk of leveling and of standardization. In Milan, again in Italy, in May 1908, the Congress of the Women Union was organized, in which women's rights were combined with children's rights. The event is open up to the international dimension, assigning the role of honorary present exactly to the Swedish Ellen Key. On July of the same year, 1908, the Humanitaria Institution Board decided to create a House of the Children in the social housing estate in Via Solari, Milan. Montessori, who had been in touch with the milieu of Milan feminists for years, took this as an opportunity for implementing her pedagogical practice, founded on the leading principle of encouraging the subject independence since early childhood, and therefore improve the humankind as a whole. Montessori children's homes will be very widespread throughout the world, and there are many architectural implications associated with this pedagogical model. We have, for example, seen the implication in Netherlands, in Dutch architecture in the Netherlands, because of the role of Herman Erzberger architecture. We have seen it in the paper presented by Guia Baratelli. I just want to remember how, in the battle of modern architecture, social reform based on the theme of housing often corresponds with the construction of Montessori schools. We recognize an example in the famous Goethehof in Vienna, Austria. At the time of its opening in 1932, the Goethehof in Donaustadt was one of the largest municipal housing estates and comprised 727 flats. In terms of infrastructure facilities, the First Republic building has a large cafe, a library, a Montessori kindergarten designed by Friedel Dicker and Franz Singer, a youth center, laundry rooms, and tuberculosis care center. And finally, following the parable of modernity in the 1930s in architecture, we return back to Sweden. To conclude, I will only show one building by two architects, Nils Harbom and Helge Zimdahl. The two architects realized several school buildings in Stockholm at the time of the rise of social democracy, when some of the Ellen Key dreams were finally realized. The outward form derived from a number of volumes shaped and assembled with reference to the function inside. And the plain whitewashed facade with their many identical windows conveyed a sense of mathematical order and rhythm. Girls were first admitted to high school in Sweden in 1927, and the Sviplan High School, one of the new schools built for their benefit, also typifies general trends at work in the design of school buildings. The attention for the integration between architecture and natural environment, the importance of light The care for every single detail, even in the interior design and furnitures, represent the continuity of Ellen Key's lesson on the concept of beauty for all as a tool for social reform. The building has been recently completely restored, adapted to current environmental requirements, and extended, but its constitute principles have been confirmed. So, just as the ideals of equality and freedom that were at the basis of its foundation should be confirmed in the future by our work. So thank you for your attention. And now I will be glad to answer your question or at the end with a debate. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Carlot, for sharing such a compelling exploration with us. Actually, your deep dive into Ellen Key's feminist pedagogy and its influence on modern Swedish architecture was incredibly enlightening. Actually, it's good always to see how we connect historical feminist principles with contemporary educational spaces, with both insightful and actually thought-provoking, and how reimagining educational spaces through a feminist lens can really profoundly impact not only the physical environment, but also the socio-cultural dynamic within them. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Just okay. So
just
thank you.
Consideration at the end
I'm sorry.
of your presentation, but it's very short. So I think it's interesting. So the example you showed, the school built in Stockholm, is also the fact that this beauty is related with the use of art for social purposes, also in the school. And this is an interesting point, and probably the contemporary society should invest more on this. So art and the beauty also for social purposes. That I think that it's a point I didn't touch in my presentation, and you just show in a short frame, but this is an interesting point to reflect.
I do agree. I do agree. Thank you very much for this consideration. Thank you. So now we are going to our last speaker of this technical session, if I'm not wrong. So can I do introduce Dr. Enas Aref? Okay.
Is she here? Is she here?
I was trying to understand if she is connected or not.
I don't think she's among the panelists.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, she's not here actually.
Oh, that's really a pity, because the title of the paper was a framework for sustainable entrepreneurship education in secondary schools, empowering youth for equity and economic development, which would be a very good way to end this roundup of presentation. I'm sorry for this. I don't know if the organization knows something about her. Maybe she has some problem in with the connection.
No, she said that she wouldn't join, unfortunately. So
Okay.
that we could move maybe to the discussion point, and if there are no questions in the question and answer section, you can maybe you have questions to each other presentations or want to give some remarks, because we do have some time to talk about it.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, probably a general remark was this connection between the social changes and the importance of the quality of the building construction, which is not only based, which is of course based on the quality of the building, of the construction itself, but also with the quality of the culture that we can spread through the building construction knowledges, which is, in my opinion, very important, and it is a matter related not only to technical issues, but also to artistic issues, as Guia Baratelli was pointing out at the end of my presentation. I had maybe some other general remarks, but I don't know if somebody want to add some points for the discussion. First of all, thank you again to everybody for the opportunity to listening, for your inspiring researches, and the importance of the heritage. It was very, very much stressed. And when we talk about heritage, we are talking about both material and intangible heritage. And as constructors and architects, we have this responsibility in social terms to can build constructions that are both representing these two sides of the same coin. I think.
Yes, I think that we have talked a lot also about processes. That is another thing. The fact that preserving buildings, for instance, the beautiful cities we saw in the first presentation. It's something physical, but there are a lot of processes that we don't imagine even, and so probably one of the challenges is how to communicate these processes, how to make people aware, because another word was participation. So the involvement both of architects or engineers and the industry and the user at the end. I think that it's an interesting matter that raised this morning.
Yes, of course, the importance of the processes both in the construction and in the preservation was very, very inspiring to me to see these two papers together. The one based on the knowledge management in the construction sector, and the one based on the documenting the historical heritage.
So I just want to ask, sorry, can I talk, I hope?
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, please. I'm sorry I joined late. I don't know if there will be transfer of I don't know if the previous discussions could be shared. I don't know how it will be shared, because I'm actually interested in yours just presented about the architectural, the ancient stuff, modern. I'm trying to the pedagogy that you just talked on and what had been shared earlier. I want to try and link everything together and see how well I can bring out something. So I don't know if it could be shared.
I guess yes, because the organizers are recording, so I think it would be quite easy to share the recording. I don't know. I asked to the organizers. Thank you.
part I would like to answer. Of course, we will share it on the Facebook, and also we will make the reader at the end of the, like not at the end of the conference, but after we got all the abstracts. But we will also contact you in all of this process, and there will be the reader with all the abstracts, and also obviously the recordings will be published on Facebook.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the response.
And if you do not have any questions, there are no questions left. If you want, we can close the session. And I just want to say thank you for this very valuable and important topics and very important insights.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for to the organization as well, because it was really very good to be here all together from many different parts of the world. I think that this kind of networking is really a very good starting point for envisioning the future. And as I said at the beginning, in this technical session, we had the opportunity to yes, to be oriented toward the future, but at the same time recognizing the role of being rooted in our past and in its preservation. I think is the most important base for imagining a new future. It is a fundamental starting point to be rooted in our culture, but also to know the other cultures in order to share these different methodologies and approaches, which is nowadays fundamental.
Thank you so much for this fruitful networking and all the discussion that presentation were really good, and all to work toward the theme of this event, which is we trying to envision the future for all of us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you to everyone. It was a pleasure, and also this sharing these interesting matters. So thank you.
So I would like to say thank you for the opportunity to present our topic, and I'm also glad to two things from the last speaker, and I hope to be able to keep the connection and be able to improve, especially as women, because we have a lot of things stopping most women from progressing, but this is one of the avenues to develop ourselves. And for me in particular, I'm grateful for this privilege. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please, I also want to say thank you for the invitation, the organizers, and also for the panelists. You are so kind, and thank you, and I appreciate this invitation.
Thank you. We are wishing you a good day and hopefully see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.